Imagine this. You move into your dream suburban neighborhood, expecting peace and quiet, only to find it ruled by a man who acts more like a dictator than a neighbor. A man who finds you for the smallest things, while secretly stealing from everyone. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. And instead of just suffering through it, I decided to end his reign once and for all, legally, publicly, and in a way that destroyed everything he thought he controlled. If you've ever dreamed of seeing karma served to someone who abuses their power, you're going to love this story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around, because by the end, this HOA president's name became a neighborhood punchline. When I first moved into this quiet suburban neighborhood, I thought I'd finally found peace. White picket fences, kids riding bikes, neighbors waving. But underneath that postcard-perfect exterior lurked a man named Todd, the HOA president. Todd wasn't just strict. He was power-drunk. He lived for rules not because they made sense, but because they gave him control. He'd fine you $200 for leaving your trash can out a minute past 9 a.m. A minute. But if you looked at his own house, total chaos. His yard had illegal structures, his fence was taller than city ordinances allowed, and his landscaping looked like it belonged in a post-apocalyptic movie. And when it came to power, Todd thrived on humiliation. I'll never forget when I stained my fence. The approved stain wasn't even available anymore, so I used the closest match. Todd shows up, smirks at me like some kind of king, and slaps me with a $500 fine. I begged. I explained. I showed him receipts. He just looked at me and said, "Rules are rules." Then he walked away. That was the moment the anger crystallized into resolve. I wasn't just going to live under Todd's dictatorship. I was going to end it. But I knew yelling at Todd wouldn't work. He fed off confrontation. No, I needed patience. Strategy. So I volunteered for the HOA board. I played the role of the eager, naive newbie. "I just want to get involved in the community," I said with a smile. Inside, I was sharpening my knives. For 2 years, I sat through every meeting. I watched how Todd bullied board members, how he buried people in paperwork, how he'd schedule votes when only his allies were present. He was manipulative, smug, and sloppy. But his biggest mistake, he underestimated me. Something didn't add up. Our HOA fees were outrageously high, higher than neighborhoods twice our size. And yet the pool was always under maintenance. The landscaping looked abandoned, and repairs never happened. I asked Todd for the budget. He laughed in my face. "Don't worry, I've got it under control." That laugh lit a fire in me. Under HOA rules, I had the right to see the budget. So I filed a formal request. Weeks passed. Nothing. That's when I started knocking on doors. Turns out I wasn't alone. Over a dozen homeowners had asked for financial records over the years. Todd ignored every single one. People whispered that he'd used HOA money for his own patio, and others swore his kids were swimming in the pool during its maintenance closure. I knew there was something rotten, and I was going to prove it. Finally, after enough pressure, Todd handed me the financial records. At first glance, they looked like a hurricane had hit them. Invoices missing, payments mislabeled, expenses that made no sense, a $15,000 landscaping fee to a company that didn't exist, thousands in administrative costs with no explanation. So I dug deeper. I cross-referenced the HOA's bank statements with public records, and there it was, the smoking gun. Todd was funneling HOA money directly into his personal accounts. And not just that, he had a contractor buddy who was inflating fees, pocketing the difference, and splitting profits with him. For months, I built my case. Spreadsheets, photos, witness statements. I was meticulous because I knew Todd would try to weasel his way out. And when my report was finally ready, it was airtight. Annual HOA meetings were usually a joke. Maybe 5 people showed up. Todd counted on apathy to keep his throne. Not this time. For weeks, I went door to door, explaining just enough of what Todd had done to light a fire under people. When the night came, the room was packed. Standing room only. Todd didn't suspect a thing. He started the meeting with his usual smug monologue about how much he'd sacrificed for the community. That's when I stood up. "Can you explain these budget discrepancies, Todd?" I asked calmly. He chuckled nervously. "I don't think this is the time or place." "Actually, Todd," I cut in, pulling out stacks of papers, "it's the perfect time." I handed out copies of my report to everyone. As neighbors read, whispers turned into gasps, then into shouts. Todd's face went from smug to pale. He tried to shout over the crowd, but the room had turned against him. I called for a vote to remove him as president. The result: overwhelming. Todd was out. 6. The final blow. We didn't stop there. An independent auditor combed through the HOA's finances and confirmed everything. Todd had embezzled over $50,000, mismanaged tens of thousands more, committed fraud on multiple counts. We reported him to the police. We filed a lawsuit, and justice came hard. Todd had to sell his house to pay restitution. His contractor buddy was banned from doing business in the entire county. Todd's reputation? Shattered. Word spread so fast that when Todd tried to join another HOA board in a nearby town, they laughed him out of the room. Literally. With Todd gone, we rebuilt. We added term limits, required multiple approvals for financial decisions, made budgets public online. The pool reopened. The landscaping thrived. HOA fees dropped. The neighborhood finally became what I dreamed of when I first moved in. Peaceful, fair, and free from Todd's tyranny. And me. Every time I walk past Todd's old house, now owned by a lovely family, I smile. Because justice wasn't just served. It was plated, garnished, and savored. Todd thought he was untouchable, that he could bully, steal, and laugh in people's faces forever. But in the end, it was his arrogance that destroyed him. The look on his face the night he lost control, when the neighborhood turned against him, was priceless. The dictator had fallen. This story proves one thing. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's methodical, patient, and absolutely devastating. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories where karma comes knocking. And let me know in the comments. Have you ever seen someone finally get what they deserved? Because trust me, justice like this never gets old.